Now, to really see what makes a binocular work, we ought to just slice it in half. Hey, there's a new binocular out in my favorite size, 8x32. This is a Tract TORIC UHD, and I have been glassing with it for a few days, and I am really impressed. And I've even compared it to some of the top line world's best binoculars costing 2 to 3 times more than this. And I'm seeing better performance, better resolution, and especially better flare control and contrast control. So I thought I would review this, just describe what makes a binocular like this work so darn well. So we want to talk about everything from the chassis to the glass to the coatings to the prisms and what makes it work. So here we go. We start with a magnesium alloy chassis, which is kind of the industry standard for lightweight and still really strong. Put the armor coating on it, protect it, and then we protect our exterior lens surfaces with some coatings that makes them scratch resistant, and they also repel oil and water. That's on the objective as well as the eyepiece external glass. Now, to really see what makes a binocular work, we ought to just slice it in half and look inside. But I'm afraid if we do that, the binocular will not work very well anymore. So you just kind of have to take my word for it. And really what you need to do when you are shopping for a binocular is to look through it and compare it to some other ones and see what gives you the best view. That's what I did with these. So here is what is inside according to the manufacturer's specifications. First of all, they're using the world's finest glass, arguably the best. It's called SCHOTT HT glass. SCHOTT. It's I think a German manufacturer, and they say that they make just the finest glass out there. Then, of course, they have to grind it perfectly and match it all up, and that's like the scientists and the mathematicians really have some work to do to figure all that stuff out. But here's the really critical part about getting good resolution and brightness. You have to coat those lenses with something called magnesium sulfide, I think some fluoride, a lot of different things that they coat that with. Why would they want to coat a lens? It increases brightness, believe it or not, and it does it through wave interference. Light travels in waves, and if you get just the right thickness, and we're talking tiny, tiny microscopic differences in thickness of these rare earth minerals on the surface, you maximize light transmission by minimizing light reflection. In other words, the light doesn't bounce off the glass anymore, it passes through. It's practically rocket science what's going on here, but they have figured all this stuff out. So what Tract has done with this glass, they don't just put a coating on it, they put multiple coatings on it, and they put what they call flat multiple coatings on all air to glass transition zones, and that maximizes light transmission. So you are looking at something like 99.8 or 99.7 light transmission through each lens rather than any of it bouncing off. And that's why it's so great with its flare control. If you're looking right at that sun, just the sun shining on the, now look right at the sun, but it shines on the objective lens, and then you look down on the ground in the shadows at a bird or a deer or something, you're not going to have all that haze you see in cheap optics. You're going to have a good crisp view with the haze controlled and high contrast, and that's what you want. And you get that from those flat multi-coatings. So every one of those surfaces is multi-coated. That's great for light transmission. But there's another piece of glass in these binoculars, and that's critically important. That is the prism glass. Big chunk of glass that is designed to bounce the light up and back and up again, and that lengthens it for your magnification. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a binocular yay long, like the old telescopes. You need that length, and the prism gives you that length, so you're folding the light. But prisms can also lose light. You've got to coat those as well. So first they are phase coated, which corrects for a fuzzy look and brings all the light back to the exact same focal point. And then you have to put a mirror in them to bounce that light around. And the mirror is critical for brightness as well. The old silver mirrors are pretty darn good. They give about 98% reflectance. But they wear over time, especially if you get a little bit of pollution inside, air gets inside the binocular. So they've put argon gas in here to keep that out. It's pressurized with argon gas, but they've also gone to a dielectric mirror on their prism surfaces. And that has even more reflectivity than does the silver. And to put that stuff on is another vapor deposition and another rare earth material like titanosphere or titanox oxide or something I can't even pronounce. It's magical stuff, and they've just done a lot of research to discover that. The upshot is you're looking at maximum light transmission through this. It's going to be incredibly bright. Now, you might say, why an 8x32? We've always heard that these objective lenses need to be really big in order to get more light in. Well, the critical part is the relationship between that size and the magnification power. So 8 divided into 32 millimeters, which is the diameter here, gives you a 4 millimeter exit pupil. And that's a little circle of light you see in the eyepieces of these binoculars. That circle of light corresponds to the circle in your eye, your pupil. So the human pupil will dilate to about 7 millimeters, and then in bright sunlight it'll shrink down to about 2.5 millimeter. 4 millimeters kind of right in the middle, and I find that to be more than big enough to project enough light into my eye to hit my retina to see a bright image an hour after the sun has set. I've even looked in the moonlight with these. We've got a half moon right now, and I am seeing deer out in the field 100 yards away. So it's because of those anti-reflection coatings and all the rest of the features we talked about, you're getting plenty of light in an instrument that's lightweight. This thing weighs about 24 ounces, and obviously it's compact, great for travel, not really big and bulky. So other features you're looking at, this I think is really important, the diopter adjustment ring right here. You have to pull it forward to loosen it to make your adjustment, and then you adjust it for the focus for that eye and lock it back down into place. So many binoculars these days are trying to make that a little easier, so they'll put a switch up here someplace and you can too easily bump it and mess it up. So I really like that locking. Now you've got your eyepieces that twist up and down and they lock into position. Come down one step, lock again, come down another step, lock again, come down all the way. That adjusts for the depth of your eyes and your brow so that you can put that binocular hard against your brow and get a full view without the edge shadows that you'll get if you're too far or too close to that thing. So that's pretty handy. It's got a little cap here on the end that when you screw that off will reveal a 1/4x20 hole for threading on a mount that you can put on a tripod if you really want to steady these things down. Another little handy feature. That's about it. Now these things will focus as close as 6.5 feet. So that's like from here to that camera, I can actually focus on that and see it sharply. And boy, that is pretty handy for folks who like to look at, say, wildflowers or especially butterflies. And obviously you can see clear to the moon and the stars and as far as you go with infinity. So you don't have to worry about how far you can see with these things. You can see forever. I don't know what else I can tell you about them other than I am just overall impressed with the resolution, the contrast, and the brightness of this instrument. I'm pretty impressed with the low cost compared to some of the bigger ones that I've tested it against. To me, this is just a great all-around binocular. You might want to check it out, an 8x32 Tract TORIC UHD.